morning, everyone. I will talk about key finding of IPCC work of assessment report 6 from working group 1. I myself is the professor meteorology and climatology of PPPT Jakarta, Indonesia. I also serve as the IPCC working group 1 vice chair. Today topic I will talk about IPCC. Okay, what is IPCC? I think one of the famous achievement is that IPCC received the Nobel Peace Prize in 2007 with the vice vice president, former vice president of United States, Al Gore. We got the Nobel Peace Prize in the 2007 for the peace of the uh, explanation of the sign of the climate change. So IPCC produced a book, and then Al Gore produced a movie called Inconvenient Truth. Uh, so what is IPCC? IPCC is the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change. It's a United Nations specialized body that deal with the sign of climate change. There is another agency in the UN that deal with the policy of climate change. So it is established in 1979 by World Meteorological Organization and the UN Environment Program. So major product will be the assessment report. Right now we are in the sixth assessment report. For example, assessment report number 1 lead to the establishment of the UNFCCC. So, and then second assessment report lead to the establishment of Kyoto Protocol. The fourth assessment report, I told you before, received the Nobel Peace Prize in 2007. The fifth assessment report lead to the Paris Agreement. Okay, and then the IPCC is ruling by the IPCC Bureau and the plenary session. There are 34 members of the IPCC Bureau. So in the product of the first assessment report lead to the UNFCCC, and so second assessment report, third assessment report, and the fourth assessment report. So this is the story of the achievement of IPCC. So we are part of the United Nations communication strategy, and then we want to deliver by UN one language. Right now, the United Nations want to deliver program that is supporting the SDG, Sustainable Development Goal. For SDG number 13 is the climate action. It is mainly the work by UNFCCC and IPCC. So this is part of the United Nations Development Goal. So for the basic of you and me right now, we must realize that the Earth atmosphere, it is part of the system of the Earth system, which is aqua planet. Our planet is aqua planet, so it is covered by the ocean or by ice or by the water vapor in the atmosphere. So the water vapor act as the greenhouse gases. So it will give a warmer temperature. If there is no water vapor or the greenhouse gases of the water vapor, then we have a temperature or average minus 33 degree. Instead of 15 degrees Celsius on average, then we will have minus 18 degrees Celsius on the average. So this is too cold for us to live. So we have the water vapor as our greenhouse gases. So unfortunately, the Earth is changing so fast, and then people adding more gases, greenhouse gases into atmosphere. People are adding more CO2, carbon dioxide to the atmosphere. This is contributed by the energy sector, by the land use sector, industry, transport, and building. So this is adding more energy to the atmosphere. Okay, so we add a number of greenhouse gases by the uh, water vapor, and then in addition to that, we are adding some greenhouse gases because of human activity. The human activity add more warming to the Earth atmosphere. So right now it is 1.18 degree, and then it will give some more. So right now the greenhouse gases that we have, this number is unprecedented or never happened before. And then for example, the CO2 reach right now 400 part per million. And then beside the CO2, we have methane, CS4, and then nitrous oxide, and N2O, N2O, nitrous oxide. And then the concentration in the atmosphere has been so high and never has been before. So this is the history of greenhouse gas. So if you can see the animation right now, this is the history of global greenhouse. So on the left here is the southern hemisphere. On the right here is the northern hemisphere. So the northern hemisphere always higher or larger than the southern hemisphere. This number has come from almost 40 stations worldwide. The famous one it is in Hawaii. The red dot here in my cursor. This is in Hawaii. This is a red dot. I think the standard of the greenhouse gases. So you can see that the northern hemisphere concentration always bring the southern hemisphere concentration up, and then right now is the reaching 400 part per million. This is the number of concentration nowadays in the history of the greenhouse gases. Okay. So right now we are reaching to the point of the never happened before, and then this is mostly due to the industrialized uh, nation, and then due to the energy sector and the land use change and transport and building. Okay, and this number is comparable with the current number. This is you can extend back 1,000 years, and then more than 1,000 years. You can see that this number today is very high. Look at this graphic on the right. It is if you can go back to the 1,000 year and more than 1,000 year, you can reach the number of greenhouse gases never been to the current situation. On look at this number, okay? Since the pre-industrialized, and then before that, it is even lower. So the atmospheric concentration of greenhouse gases never been to the current situation like before. Look at this number, it is million year, never been reached before. So right now it is number is very high, 4,000 part per million in the atmosphere. So okay, uh, go back to the IPCC Bureau. The IPCC Bureau right now has been chaired by the South Korea uh, professor. This is professor of economy, Sung Lee, is the chair of IPCC. It is not the climate scientist, maybe you know, but he is an economic professor. So many people dealing with climate change, but they don't have basic. But this is no problem because right now the problem with climate change is everyone business. So the chair has three vice chair. One from United States is a biologist. And this one is from Brazil, I think from the energy sector, and also from the Mali. here. Is Mali, a small country in Africa, also is dealing with the energy sector. Right now, I'm part of the working group 1 here, and then my boss is French and Chinese scientists, and then I'm part of the. We have working group 2 and working group 3, and then working group 4 usually dealing with the methodology and tools. As you know that Thai scientists also working for the working group 4 for developing the methodology. Okay. So right now for working group 1, I summarize people from the Southeast Asia. I think 1%, 2% from the Philippines, Jema Narisma and Faikros, and this is 3% from Indonesia. We have 1% from Malaysia and 1% from Vietnam as a different role in the IPCC here. So if you see the IPCC assessment report for working group 1, actually this is a very thick document, almost 4,000 document. It is compiled from 14,000 scientific publication, and then mostly the author are new to the IPCC. So if you see the number of before, this is mostly, I think 100, almost everyone except me are new to IPCC. So from Philippines, from Indonesia, from Malaysia and Vietnam, they are new to IPCC, except me. So you can see that mostly new to the IPCC, and we received many comments from government review, and actually we are from the 65 country who made up the lead author for the IPCC Assessment Report 6, Working Group 1. So currently the situation of the COVID pandemic, so really force us to work online. So we mostly in this past 1.5 year never have a face meeting, but we have to do our job and finish the job on the 9 August last month. Okay. So the assessment report is produced from the combination of this lead author and many scientists. So IPCC does not work on research. IPCC do not work on making research by itself. We are compiling or do assessment. So mean we judging whether the science going to the one direction or whether going to the other direction, and we have to put our confidentiality language in it. So we also produce the summary for policymaker for this report. This is the report itself is the combination of the working group 1 fifth assessment report that was published 8 years ago. 8 years ago, it is 2013, 8 years ago. And then also additionally, we have special report 1.5 degree in 2018, and then special report on the ocean and cryosphere in 2019, and special report on land in 2019. So the current summary for policymaker is a combination of 4 subsections. The first section dealing with the current state of the climate, and then the second one with the possible climate future, and the third one climate information for risk assessment and regional adaptation. This is due to the request by majority of government. They want to have their region or their area to be highlighted in the IPCC. And number 4, limiting climate change. For example, we have the COVID pandemic in this year and last year. We have discussion a little bit about that. We have so many problem with forest fire, for example, and we have problem with volcanic eruption. Volcanic eruption, it is one of limiting factor for climate change by reducing the climate change effect. So the message is that recent changes in the climate are widespread, I think, to all regions and rapid and intensifying, unprecedented in 1,000 years. So many climate calamities are unprecedented in a year before. So this is like I told you the story about greenhouse gases. So the warming is unprecedented for 2,000 years. Look at this, and then right now we are reaching 1.18 degree warmer compared to pre-industrialized. Uh, it is almost 200 years ago. From 1850 to right now, it is almost 200 years ago. So compared to that number, we are still on the 1.18 degree. So what is unprecedented we mean in this report? So for example, the greenhouse gas concentration, it is the highest at least in 2,000 years, 2 million years compared to 2 million years. Sea level rise is also the fastest rate. It is at least in the 3,000 years. And the cover for the North Polar, like the North Polar Sea, the Arctic Sea, it is the lowest level in 1,000 years. And the glacier retreat, it is unprecedented in the least 2,000 years. This is the story of unprecedented in the IPCC. Also, we see before our meeting by the end of July, we received the extreme heat. For example, we have the temperature in Canada, western part of Canada, in the British Columbia was reaching the highest, even warmer than the Middle East, warmer than Middle East. We also received news that the Europe and China was hit uh, by the flood. I heard the opening speech this morning about the flood in 2011 in Thailand. Also, we received the example drought in some region, but also every year we have the problem with fire weather more frequent in many parts of the world. So by the end, we have ocean warming and acidification and losing oxygen in the upper surface of the ocean. So unless we are immediate, rapid, and large-scale reduction in greenhouse gas, we can limit the warming to 1.5 degree. This is the request from the small island country. They want us together, the world, to limit 1.5 degree warming only, because above 1.5 it is catastrophic to everyone. So we have produced the future scenario, the future emission. So by the request of the government official, then we put the scenario. The number is, we don't put the number here. It's very high, intermediate scenario, and low and very low. So as usual, the scenario for the first 30 years, I think from 2020 to 30 years, 2050, it is near term, and then we have middle term, and then we have a longer term. We have a low emission, middle emission, low emission for 1.5 degree, middle emission 2.2 degrees Celsius additional warming, and then without any mitigation action, we will reach more than 4 degrees Celsius. So we in IPCC put that every additional amount of global warming will change the water cycle larger. So we have extreme rainfall will be intensified by 7% for each additional 1 degree Celsius. So people let's see compare 1.5 and 2 degree in the previous report of IPCC, and this is we come up with this number additional by 7%. So it is indisputable that human activity causing climate change, making extreme climate event, including heat wave, heavy rainfall, and drought more frequent and severe. This is like I think this is situation in Africa. So with the current scenario of the emission and warming, we can see which are the part of the problem, whether they are adding problem to the warming or reduce problem of the warming and act as cooling, warming and cooling. So, for example, the aerosol cooling is also possible due to the volcanic eruption and also by the black carbon in some area. So it is the human influence also contributing to the warming and also the pollution contributing to the cooling possibly, and also the natural factor possibly from the solar sunspot or any ocean circulation, and then last one is also the internal variability. Like in our region, we are we know that we are affected by El Nino, either by El Nino or La Nina. These are the internal variability that affecting our region, El Nino and La Nina. So this is part of the internal variability that control the climate change. So human influence the main driver, and then the hot extreme. So every part of the world, like for example, Thailand and Indonesia may be different from Mongolia, may be different from Europe, may be different from South America, may be different from Africa. So the problem like hot extreme, which are more frequent and more intense. This is like in chapter 8, we are discussing about the intensifying of the water cycle of the hydrology, ocean warming since 1970, and acidification. So in the frozen area, we know in the part of the world there is a permafrost, and the permafrost become susceptible to the climate change because the frozen area become limiting, decreasing. So for example, the global retreat of glacier, and then the Arctic Sea, the northern pole, it is decreasing 40% in the 1970, and then they use to be ice, but people predict that this area will be ice free in in 1950 and so on. So the climate change already affecting many part of region of the world in multiple ways. So maybe not only one way, and maybe some other way, it is possible that is make combined challenge. So the change we experience will increase the further warming. And then what new in this ASEAN report 6 is the regional information. 1/3 of our report it is regionally dedicated to regional climate information. So there are two type of report. One is a fact-finding report. We have the fact-finding of the Asia, and the part of Asia is Southeast Asia. And then the other one is we have a Atlas chapter. Atlas chapter is very new and special. So assessment 6. It is provided by the government of Spain to have the interactive atlas, so that everyone can see what are the happening in the region. So we can inform decision maker to the risk management and adaptation possible in the region. So this is a new regional information. I think you can do it for Thailand or whatever. So we introduced the term climate impact driver. climate impact driver is useful for everyone in the locality. So no, not global issue anymore. So maybe one region, for example, they have a problem with rain and drought, heat and cold. For example, heat heat on the land and heat on the ocean, and the wind coastal ocean and open ocean. So the climate impact driver can be many different driver, but the severe consequences for the people in agriculture, for the people in the fishery and so on like this. So this is what I was talking about in chapter 8, dealing with the water cycle. Water cycle dealing with the warmer temperature that atmosphere actually can hold more water and then can produce faster evaporation and heavier precipitation. So in the frozen region will be affected, in some part of the land atmosphere will be affected, and some part of the ocean also will be affected. And then for global warming, there are problems with heavier rainfall and then intensifying drought and season. This is a problem usually for our region because we live in the monsoonal region. We are dealing with El Nino and so on like this. So in our region, rainfall and monsoon become very much problematic. Yeah, so I think this is a picture from Thailand, probably. The annual rainfall and land increasing. We have problem with the changing complex way of the monsoon system. So in some area, the monsoon come earlier and come later, and some area will be intensifying heavily. So we introduce a new chapter. It is interactive atlas. Uh, I don't know. I can. I think I must stop this, and then I share screen to the this interactive atlas. I'm sorry. I think this interactive atlas. This is everyone can open this. Maybe can see. For example, this is if you see temperature like this, you can see one scenario, a different scenario. What happened with the precipitation? For example, this is 1.5 degree scenario, and 2 degree, and then 3 degree. And then we can see for the other picture. For example, this is a picture of changing climate of the what happened in the Southeast Asia, and then we have the data set of the what happened in the Southeast Asia. We have the Codex Southeast Asia, and we can use this to see what is the warming and the scenario. Okay, I think I must go back to again to the presentation. So here, I think everyone can see. Maybe it's possible from your laptop or your computer to see the chapter interactive atlas ipc.cs. I think everyone can play what is possibility of the climate information in the region and see whether the specific information that is useful for them. Okay. So this is the regional fact sheet. For example, this is I take regional fact sheet for Asia section, and then Southeast Asia. It is very simple, but it's meaningful. For example, future warming less than global average for our region. I think the more problem is in the North Pole or South Pole, and that the trend increase the rainfall And this is a problem with land subsidence and the Mekong Delta River for the sea level rise. And also for Philippines, there are more problem with tropical cyclone and then many problem with tropical cyclone and monsoon area. For example, this is in the summary for policymaker, they are talking about the monsoon climate. Monsoon climate for the Southeast Asia and the long and the length of the monsoon season, whether going after or earlier. So the continued global warming will affecting the water cycle uh, of the some region of the world. This is chapter 8 of dealing with the uh, water cycle and monsoon precipitation and the area getting wetter and the area getting drier in some area. So the message is that there is no going back from some changes in the climate system. This is the problem for us. And then the problem is we're dealing, it is also for the ocean and ice sheet. I think for the ocean, increasing temperature of the ocean also problem with Thailand and Indonesia because we are surrounded by water. I think greenhouse ice sheet and sea level rise. The ice sheet is not a big problem. I think no problem in for Thailand, but I think the problem is it is the ice melt in the Himalayan region will bring to the Mekong River. This is the problem later for the Thailand uh, region. Sea level rise, I think this is problem with the farmer in the Mekong Delta River near southern Vietnam. So, however, some changes could be slowed and other could be stopped by limiting warming. To limit global warming, strong and rapid sustained reduction in CO2 and methane and other greenhouse gases are necessary. This is to reduce the air pollution and the consequence of climate change. So I want to introduce for the ASEAN Report 6, we introduced the new model scenario. If you know about the climate change science, so usually we are in the ASEAN Report 5, usually we use the RCP modeling scenario. RCP is a representative concentration pathway. But now in the working group 1 ASEAN Report 6, we are dealing with the modeling, we call it SSP, not RCP, SSP. It is shared socioeconomic pathway. The compatibility of the assessment report 5 and assessment report 6, you can see the number here. This is the number 1.9, means the global warming potential is 1.9 watt per meter square globally, and 2.6 is available in the RCP assessment report 5, 4.5 also available, and 8.5. So right now in the assessment report 6, we introduced two new scenarios. One is 1.9. This is very small scenario for 1.5 degrees Celsius. And then 7.0. 7.0 is the working group 3 considered as the highest possible scenario because they think 8.5 is too high. So this, for example, this is a 1.9. You can still cross the 1.5. This is the best estimate is 1.6. This is the lowest possible temperature that we can reach. So in all scenario that possible, we will pass the 1.5 degrees Celsius, even the lowest one. So this is the message. Even with the lowest one, we still pass the 1.5 degrees Celsius. This is, but this is not bad news because we're passing 1.5, but still going back down after that. So we introduce very low, intermediate, very high emission scenario in the model. And also we introduce many new, like for example, the emission of CO2 on the land and ocean to limit which way possible. Because the agriculture people really interested in the non-CO2. It is mostly methane, and the permafrost people also interested in the methane, not non-CO2. So we introduce different greenhouse gases from the carbon and the greenhouse gases from the methane, and also from the important from the agriculture sector in our region. IPCC assessment report 6 also introduced the agricultural and meteorological drought. Agricultural and meteorological drought. So it is introduced now here. For example, this is the big news in the assessment report 6. Many people still argue that we can, like I said, whatever scenario that you made, even the smallest one, we still reaching up to 1.5 degrees Celsius. So this is right now up to today. There are still debate on people. For example, this is from World Research Institute. They are debating that maybe we don't reach 1.5 degree, because in the report we say that uh, compared to the previous uh, IPCC special report 1.5 degree, which say that we could reach 1.5 degree in the year 2052. But in the current report, it's almost likely that we could reach 1.5 degree 10 years earlier. I think the number become 2042. But these people from World Research Institute, they say uh, it is not like that. So the climate reality say that we are not reaching 1.5 earlier than previous thought. So still people debating. So this is a big issue in IPCC right now, and what bringing to the COP meeting in Glasgow, in next November, what whether we can reach 1.5 degree earlier or not. So the climate we are experiencing in the future depend on our decision right now. This is a problem right now. Okay, everyone, ladies and gentlemen, I think I must stop here. I think for introduction to the IPCC assessment report 6 for the working group 1. For myself, I consider working group 1 as the part of the problem, because part of the solution it is from the working group 2 and working group 3. It is the adaptation and mitigation part. And then unfortunately they are finished not this year but next year. They will finish the report for the working group 2 and 3. So as said before, that every assessment report of IPCC produce something, produce Kyoto Protocol, produce the Paris Agreement, and many things. I don't know after next year of the scientific report or assessment report of IPCC working group 2 and 3 from adaptation and mitigation, maybe we do something. Okay, you can reach me on my media like Facebook, this is Instagram, this is Twitter, and also my YouTube. You can see and follow and continue my talk. Okay, thank you very much, everyone. Thank you, Kapun Kap, and then good afternoon.